Snowflake Notebooks is a fully managed service that runs on Snowflake Data Warehouse platform, requiring no setup or installation on your part. Notebooks are a popular interactive development environment where you can build data science, AI, and data engineering workload. They allow you to explore, analyze, and visualize your data using Python or SQL scripting, and you can also document your work using Markdown. Since mid-2024, Snowflake Notebooks have been available under Projects menu within Snowsite. They allow you to use SQL script, Python script, Snowpark or Streamlit workload to perform data exploration activities. In this comprehensive video, we will learn everything about the natively built Snowflake Notebooks and the value they bring to data engineers, machine learning engineers, and AI engineers. This is a complete hands-on tutorial. If you want to learn about all the key features and capabilities of Snowflake Notebooks, including its limitation and cost implication, stay tuned until the end. We will begin with an introduction to Snowflake Notebooks, where we will learn how to create them using different approaches, including importing ipynb files. We will also explore why Snowflake claims that these are fully managed, natively built objects, and we will cover the necessary configuration settings. Since it is an object within Snowflake, we will briefly cover discretionary access control and role-based access control features. And we will discuss the cost associated with the notebook while using them during development activities. Next, we will focus on scripts supported by Snowflake Notebooks, including SQL scripting, Python scripting, Streamlit framework, Snowpark framework, and Markdown support. We will also explore the various cell properties and shortcut keys that can enhance productivity and efficiency in your development activity. Then we will explore the notebook session, including how to start and stop them, review the query profile and workload executed by the notebook through different script mechanisms, and adjust the notebook level settings including Python packages. Finally, we will learn how to schedule a notebook and run them based on our definition, explore different scheduling frequencies, and monitor runs and their history. There are many advanced topics related to Snowflake Notebook that would make this video too lengthy to cover in detail. We will briefly touch on these advanced topics, and you can subscribe to this channel to be notified when we release dedicated video on those topics. So let's see the Snowflake Notebooks in action. Welcome to my channel Data Engineering Simplified. For all my demonstration, I will be utilizing the free trial edition of Snowflake on AWS. Make sure to adjust the video quality to 4K since all my recordings are in that resolution. To speed up your learning process, consider increasing the playback speed to 1.25x or 1.5x. For direct communication, feel free to message me on my Instagram account. If you are interested in systematically enhancing your Snowflake skill, check out my premium Udemy courses. If you have ever used Jupyter Notebooks on your local machine, you likely installed Python, pip, followed by notebook packages and then Snowflake specific packages. After setting up a connection to your Snowflake instance, you could begin your exploratory work. The challenge with this approach, if you are working with a large dataset, the data is brought to your local machine. Additionally, if you have a large development team, each member has to replicate the same setup for their exploratory work. The Snowflake Notebooks are not Jupyter Notebooks hosted within the Snowflake runtime environment. Instead, they function as an interactive development environment, providing a similar user experience. As a fully hosted service, there is no setup required. Just issue a single SQL command and Snowflake Notebook is ready to use. So let's go to our Snow site and create our first Snowflake Notebook. This is my Snow site web UI, and when I click on this projects menu from the left pane, here I get second option called Notebooks. Let me click on the Notebooks. This brings this screen. At the time of recording, Snowflake Notebooks are in preview version. And here it says, make your Snowflake data come alive with powerful notebooks that your entire company can use. If you have a lot of notebooks available, then you can search a specific notebook by typing the notebook name, and Here you can click on the plus notebook and create your first notebook. If you click onto that down arrow sign, it allows you to create a notebook from repository, or you can also import from ipynb file. So let's create our first notebook. The moment you click on the notebook, so the notebook would be owned by a role, and in this case it is an account admin. Each notebook will have a name, and the notebook reside inside your database and schema. It is a schema level object, and each notebook needs a runtime environment, and for that we have to provide a compute resources. So let me change this name. So all the database which I have access to are listed here. Let me click on the sandbox DB, and I have only public schema, so I have selected the public. Here I have a different virtual warehouses. I am just keeping it compute virtual warehouse as a default. If you hover into this tooltip, it says where your notebook is stored, and it says run your notebook and execute its query. It is important to note that your notebook needs a warehouse, and execute queries within the notebook also needs a virtual warehouse, and that is the purpose of this virtual warehouse. Let me create this notebook. So my notebook is created successfully, and this is my first notebook file. If you click onto the database, all the database which you have access to will be visible here. Snowflake has created by default 3 cells, and you can see in this panel all the cell names are listed. And this is a cell which can run a Python program. So here you can choose Python, SQL and Markdown. The second cell is an example of a SQL, and third is also Python. So this is how you can create your first notebook. We will come back to this screen and we'll explore everything. Now let's go back to Notebooks homepage. So this notebook has a owner, and right now the owner is account admin. Now let's go back and create another notebook using a SQL statement. So for that, let me go back to a worksheet. So this is my same sandbox underscore DB and public schema, and this is my account admin role, and I am using compute virtual warehouse. Now this is the simple SQL statement which allows you to create your notebook. I have given the notebook name my notebook 01. So my first notebook is created successfully. Looks good. I can run describe notebook 01. So this is the main file. The title is null, and I have not associated any virtual warehouse. This is a unique URL for this notebook. These are the default packages which is included as a part of this notebook, and some additional information. Now I can also run show notebooks, and this time I should get 2 notebooks. This is the notebook I have created through my notebooks option, and this is the notebook which I created using SQL statement. Both of them belongs to owner's account admin role, and one of them is having compute warehouse, another is not having, and this is the unique URI ID for both the notebooks. Since notebook is a schema level object and can be managed by a role, that's why this owner role type is role. If it is an application based object, then this value will change to application. Now I am creating another notebook where I am associating a virtual warehouse. Let's see. So this got created. Now I am going to create third notebook, and this time I am adding a comment while creating a notebook. So this also got created, and if I run show notebooks, so this is my notebook names. This is database name, schema name. If the comment is provided, good. When we created a notebook through our Snowside button, it did not allow us to put the comment. This is owner, virtual warehouse, URL ID, and owner role type. If you have to drop a notebook, you can simply run drop notebook followed by the notebook name, and your notebook would be dropped automatically. Looks good. Now I have created notebooks under sandbox DB. Let's go to the public schema and see if these notebooks are listed. So it is not listed. Let me refresh it. Unlike other objects like table, stream, stored procedures and function, notebooks are not listed. Maybe in future it will be listed here, but right now it is not listed under the schema option. Even if I come to this object explorer and under the public schema, I do not see any entry called notebook. Now let's go back to projects and notebooks option. So I can see I have this notebooks available. Now let's one of the notebook which I have created through the SQL and see whether Snowflake has put those examples cell or not. So let me open my third notebook. So this is the notebook name, and this is my ipynb file, and it has put this three different cell with the same example. So looks good. So you can create your notebook through the plus notebook button, or you can also create a notebook using SQL statement and can manage all the notebook operation through different SQL command. Now if you want to delete a notebook from this screen, you can click on this triple dot, and here you have a delete option. You can simply click on delete and this will be deleted. If you want to export this notebook as ipynb file, you can click on this export. You would be able to export this entire Snowflake notebook as ipynb file. But it gives this warning saying some commands like Streamlit method may not be supported in other notebook tools, and indirectly it is referring to Jupyter notebooks. So now I can again click on this triple dot and click on notebook setting, and here if I would like to change SQL warehouse, I can go and I can choose a different virtual warehouse based on the workload which I am going to run in my notebook. Now I have not yet started this notebook, but when I click on this start button, it may take a while. My notebook status changed to active. So I have not executed my notebook, but I just changed the status of my notebook from start to active. So this notebook is running and it is consuming a virtual warehouse credit. Let's go back and check our query history and see how does it look like. So if you look into my query history screen, my notebook 03 is in running status and it is actually keeping the compute virtual warehouse active. What does it mean? As long as your notebook is running, it is consuming a credit, and credit consumption is nothing but a dollar consumption. Now let's run all the cell, and here I am not doing anything specific. Now let me run a SQL statement, and for that I will go to the database and I will use this Snowflake sample database and click on this run cell. Let me refresh my query history screen. So this is a statement which I executed. This used the virtual warehouse, but at the same time my notebook is still running. So as long as your notebook is having the active status, it will continue to consume the virtual warehouse cost. And to control the cost, you need to really make sure you can go to the notebook setting and change the idle time from 1 hour, which is the default value, to 15 minutes. What does it mean? If your notebook is idle for 15 minutes, it will automatically change the status from active to inactive, and that way you can save a cost. And this is one of the important thing while working with Snowflake notebooks. As we have understood, Snowflake notebooks are schema level object, and each of the notebooks will have a owner. At the same time, you need to give different kind of privileges using RBAC to make sure the different user can create a notebook. Let's quickly simulate that. So this is my public user and having a public role. This user can access the sandbox DB and the public schema. So when I go to my database option, I can see the public schema, and I can also see the notebooks option here. But when I click on this notebook, it comes to this screen, and let's click on the plus notebook. So when I say plus notebook, since I do not have create notebook privileges, it says no database found, or you don't have privileges to create notebook in this database. Since notebook is an object which can consume the credit from your Snowflake, you need to make sure that you define appropriate role for your users who can create or cannot create a notebook. Now let's try to import a Python notebook and see how does it work. So for that, I need to click on this down arrow sign and click on import, and I selected a notebook called notebook app, and I will give the new name. And if you look into this header, it says creating from notebook underscore app 1.ipynb. The role which is creating a notebook is account admin, and I can choose the database sandbox DB. I am keeping rest of the selection as default and click on create. Now as soon as the notebook is created, the state is start not active. I can click on start and it will take a while. This notebook is running using a compute virtual warehouse, and idle timeout is 1 hour, which you can click, and I can change it to 15 minutes and save. And now I will click on run all. So this is the result, and we will cover some of the Python package import at the later part of this video. So we have understood how to create Snowflake notebooks using different mechanism. We also understood how to change the configuration. We also understood the DAC and RBAC concept when it comes to the notebook and the cost associated with the notebook because it consumes a cost through virtual warehouse. So let's move to our next section where we are going to understand different kind of script supported by Snowflake Notebook and other cell features. So let's open this My Notebook 03 which we created using a SQL command. And I can click on this triple dot and delete all the cell. So through this option, you can change whether your cell is for SQL, Python or Markdown. And let me show you. You can write Python scripting or SQL scripting or Markdown. Let's focus on SQL for now. So we have seen that I ran a select statement and the data is directly shown over here. Let me write a DML statement. Now my table is created successfully, and when you click on this option, it took 1.4 seconds. And the moment I click on it, it says the start time, end time, what is a query ID and warehouse name, produce rows and byte scan. So you can write any kind of SQL statement, and whatever the result we used to get it through our Snowflake worksheet, the similar result will be displayed into the cell. If you wish, you can change the name of this cell. Okay, and this name has to be unique across all the cell names within the notebook. If I want to give a space or hyphen, cell names can only contain alphanumeric characters and underscore, nothing else. If you want to collapse or expand, you can click on this icon and this icon will help you to run. Or if you just press enter from your keyboard, this will also run. If you really want to delete the cell, you can use the option. If you want to move up the cell, you can choose that, and run cell and advance, run below cell, all the options are very similar to your Jupyter notebook. Now if you want to rename the notebook, you can click on this option. So it says to rename this notebook, end the session first. To end the session, you can click on this down arrow and click on end session, and it gives you, this will reset any variable you might have created. Okay, when I come to my query history, my notebook is still running. So if I really want to close it, I can click on this cancel and it will say, can you cancel the query? And if you see the query which is being executed says execute notebook and sandbox db.public.notebook name, and I can say cancel query. Let me refresh it. So here the status says failed, and if you hover on the status, it says SQL execution cancelled, and it was running for 22 minutes. It means it costed us 22 minutes worth virtual warehouse. So we have already covered how we can write SQL code. Now we are going to see Python code. Here I have written a small Python program which is importing pandas and matplotlib. So you click on packages and here start searching for pandas and click on pandas, and then matplotlib, you can select this, and this is also latest, so both are selected. If you want to install packages from your stage location, you can click and follow this instruction to install a package from your stage location. We are going to cover this in our future videos. Now my pandas and matplotlib libraries are installed. Let's start the session. Now let's click on run all option. Now here by clicking on this close sidebar, I can click close the sidebar, and now I will get a full screen. However, this part cannot be collapsed further. So here if you see, it has drawn a matplotlib, and if you want a dark theme, you can simply click on dark, and this is how it look like. And if you want a system theme, you can click on a system theme. So this is how your screen will look like. Okay, let me change my appearance to light. So this is the way you can write a Python code. And if you would like to know the different options, you can click on keyboard shortcut, and these are the shortcut which you can use to make yourself more productive while doing the data exploration through the Snowflake Notebooks. Let's quickly understand how the Markdown support works with the Snowflake Notebook. So this is my another notebook, and here if you look into this cell option, I have selected Markdown, and if you have ever worked Markdown for documenting your code, this example is very familiar. I can use hash to create different heading, and if I click on this arrow mark, this is how this heading looks like. If I have to emphasize something, I can click here and this will show how I can create bold, letter, italic, bold and italic together. Likewise, if I have to create the different kind of a list, you can use hyphen sign or this numbering pattern and automatically the list will be created. If I have to create a link, this is how the Markdown looks for link within a Snowflake Notebook. If you are using a sample code, you can use inline code or you can use this kind of examples to format your programming examples. If you want to create a table, this is how the table looks like. And if you want to create a task list, this is how you can create a task list using a Markdown. And this is example for strike through. So click on this, and by using this character at the beginning and end of the text, you will have this strike through. The one thing which I found doesn't work is block code. So even though I have given this standard Markdown option, but this is not appearing like a block code file. So you can combine your SQL scripting, Python scripting and Markdown text to document your entire notebook to make sure that it is readable enough and any other developer would not find any challenge while going through your notebook. Now let's quickly understand how you can write a Streamlit app as well as Snowpark app using notebook. So let's understand how we can write Snowpark Python code in our notebook. So this is my Snowpark underscore notebook. Let me open this. Let me shrink the sidebar. So this is my first cell Markdown and it is named as introduction, and this is also appearing as an introduction here. And here if you see in our Snowflake notebook, all the Snowpark Python packages already included and you don't need to include anything. So if you have already worked on Snowpark based Python libraries, this is how you have to import different libraries before you get an active session. And once you get an active session, you can start using the session.sql and issuing query to the Snowflake. So the Snowpark packages are already part of Snowflake notebooks. The data is automatically accessible through this active session. So let's quickly start the notebook session. So these are the import statement we use before we get an active session. So let's comment all of them. And without importing any packages, let's try to get this get active session. And it got executed successfully. Now I am trying to execute select current database, current schema and current role followed by current region. So I also got result as expected. And now I am going to create a table which has only one column called ID followed by dot collect. So my table got created and let's add another cell. Now let's see what happens. So it says object memory usage. Let's run. So if you see the result, my table is available as a transient table. Okay. Now let's try to insert some values here. So this is the statement where I'm trying to insert 5 records into my Snowpark underscore table, and total 5 records got inserted. And if you would like to show the table as a data frame, here I can write session.table. This is my Snowpark session and this is the name of the table which is available in the current context. So if you just run df.show, the result will come like this. But if you just say table as a df, and let's see how the result looks like. So this will appear in a more formatted way. Now if you would like to write a function which operates on your Snowpark libraries, you can also write functions like filter data set or anything. Let's try to write a function and see whether Snowflake notebook also support functions or not. So it got executed successfully. I don't need to use the import statement, it is automatically available. So if you are doing a lot of transformations or a lot of scripting using Snowpark Python library, so this interactive development platform will allow you to become more effective. Now let's talk about Streamlit support in Snowflake Notebook, and this is my another notebook called Streamlit_notebook. Let me open this. Let me shrink that. Like Snowpark Python library, we don't need to include anything when it comes to Streamlit. If you click into the packages, the latest version of Streamlit is already available in your installed packages and directly start using it. Creating a dummy data. Let me run this, and as soon as I run a cell, if my session is inactive, it will make the session active. So this is the mobile phone sales data and the number of unit by day. So this is how my data frame looks like. Let's say if I do not import the Streamlit, what happens? So if I do not import the Streamlit, so that name is not defined. So I need to make sure that I import Streamlit here. So the import is done. Now let's rerun this Streamlit_plot. So this is my two different plot, and this is how it is appearing. So it is so simple that you can really have your data available either Snowpark and use the Streamlit to make the visualization without any dependency. Now let's play with little large data set. I'm importing a NumPy, and if you look into my packages, the latest version of NumPy is installed as package now. And whenever you install a new package, your environment.yml file will have that new package available. All the packages which are part of default list will not come to this app_environment.yml file. So let's run this cell and see what happens. So here it is creating a two tab 1 and tab 2. And this is a unit sold versus revenue, and here we are trying to generate 180 days data set for mobile phone cell. Let's run this cell. If you look, this is my first tab and this is my second tab. So revenue over 180 days and unit sold over 180 days. Okay, so pretty interesting. You can shrink and you can enlarge this. So all the feature of Streamlit is available in your Snowflake notebook. Now let's go for a third example where we would like to use a slider. If you look into this line number 24, I am using a slider where I have a title and min date and max date from my data frame. And let's run this and see how my slider looks like. So if you really want to move this in a particular day, and it will show you how many units are sold and what is the revenue. The Snowflake notebooks are really powerful where you can use Python, SQL, Snowpark Python, Streamlit Python framework and Markdown to really create a very interactive dashboard for quick discovery or visualization. So we have covered pretty much with respect to different scripting support and framework support out of box using Snowflake notebooks, and we have also understood how you can run the cell and you can see the query stats and everything. Now in the next part, we are going to see how you can schedule your notebook and you can view the schedule and run history. So this is my Python code notebook which we have used earlier, and let's assume that I need to rerun this notebook again and again because it is performing some transformation. To achieve that, I have to schedule this notebook on a certain frequency. So this notebook has just three cells. One is import, generate data and draw cells. Here you can see a small icon which seems to be a calendar kind of icon. If I click on this, it displays three different menus: create schedule, view run history and view schedule. So if I click on create schedule, new schedule pop-up box appear. I can give the name to my schedule, I can define different frequency and additional parameter if I would like to use that parameter as a part of my notebook. And here I can set the frequency on an hourly basis, daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis or a custom level. And if you want to run on 10th minute of every hour on UTC time or a different time, you can define that. And you can click on a create and a task object will be created behind the scene which will invoke this notebook. Now I have already set that, so you can click on view run history. This notebook has been running. This is how the view history looks like, where you can go and you can check it. If you would like to see the result, you can click on this arrow sign and it will take you to the result. Let's see how does it look like if I click on that. It opens the notebooks. So if you notice, this is a read-only notebook. Edit current notebook option is also available. The status is success, which is really nice. And here the plot what we have seen earlier. So this notebook was executed on 25th August, Sunday, 2 p.m. Now, if I have to go back to the main notebook, you can click on Edit Current Notebook and again click on this icon and say View Schedule. When you come to this, here this is my schema, this is my task, and this is every hour task is created, which is running my notebook. And let's see how it looks like. So when you click on that, this is how the task definition looks like, where it is calling execute notebook followed by the notebook name, and here you can pass some parameter, and that parameter you can define when you are creating the schedule. So this is how you can write a complex ETL program using your notebook. You can create a schedule, you can run it, and you can view what has happened at that point of time. Now let's quickly touch upon those topics what we have not covered in this video and we are going to cover in the future video. So continue to follow this channel and you will get the notification when this new advanced topics about the Snowflake Notebooks are covered. So we have really not covered how to connect with your repository and make a live changes to your Git repository or a Bitbucket repository or Azure DevOps repository. If you have not seen my playlist where I have covered the Git Snowflake integration, I would suggest you to go this set of videos which will help you how you can create an integration object along with your Git repository. If you are building a complex ETL using notebook, there are a lot of best practices needed so you can work in more enterprise style development. That is also not covered. We have not covered how to call function within the notebook and how we can define variable. So all those advanced topic will be covered in my future videos related to Snowflake notebooks. I hope you got something valuable from this video. If you did, please hit the like button. Your support not only recognizes the work behind this free content, but also helps others to discover this playlist. And if you think it can help someone else in your team, feel free to share. Thanks for watching and let's spread the knowledge and growth together.